Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the all-new 2023 V8 Defender. First and foremost, though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Southtown Imports here in Utah for giving me some time with this Defender. This one is available for sale for the time being, so if you're interested, I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. Definitely check them out. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below as well. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a supercharged 5-liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 518 horsepower and then 461 pound-feet of torque. And let me say it again, 5-liter V8. That sounds a whole lot better than twin-turbo 4.4-liter V8 that's in some other Land Rover models now. Just saying, that's under the hood. Now let's go to the front end of the V8 Defender. Now this is a Carpathian edition, which is basically the special edition of what is already a special edition of the Defender, so it's like double special edition. I know, pretty confusing, but anyways, you guys can see we've got the signature print here on either side with the Defender, which I've always thought has looked pretty cool. Now you guys will notice that the center of the hood is gloss black, whereas we have the Carpathian gray, which has a satin finish to it. Now, what Land Rover does is they actually put satin paint protection film on this from the factory to give it its satin finish. So this is not satin paint, it's regular gloss paint, but with satin paint protection film, which is pretty cool because that means that when rocks and other debris come up and hit into this, they're gonna be hitting into paint protection film and not the paint. So they have to go through quite a bit to actually get to metal, which is pretty cool. Anyways, Defender logo right there. And then also you've got that kind of like gray coloration here around the Land Rover logo. And then we've got the LED headlights with the daytime running lights. Definitely a cool look with the Defender. Fog lights down below, and then we've got the parking sensors integrated here into the front end. And then notice how the front end has been sculpted for approach angle, which is pretty cool. And you guys can see the singular recovery hook there at the very bottom. And yeah, this thing just looks so beefy from a front end perspective. Coming around the side here, our tire and wheel setup is 275, 45, 22 in the front and over in the rear as well. And it looks like Land Rover's taken some notes from Mercedes in terms of putting massive wheels on what is supposed to be an off-road SUV. But it actually does make sense because with the V8, you actually have Brembo brakes, as you guys can see there on the caliper with the little Brembo logo. And between the caliper and the rotor, they're absolutely massive. And so the smallest possible wheel that you can fit on the V8 Defender is a 20-inch wheel. Now on the inline 6 Defender, you can actually go down to a 19-inch wheel. There is a caliper conversion you can get aftermarket that'll allow you to put an 18-inch wheel, but obviously that's aftermarket and not OEM. But the point that I'm trying to make here is it's got big wheels because it has to, because it has big brakes, because it has a big V8. It all kind of makes sense. Now this does have air suspension on all four corners. It gives this 11.5 inches of ground clearance, which is just amazing. Now this does have independent front and rear suspension, and it is a unibody SUV. You guys can see here how it's gloss black there, and then all along the side, next we have our V8 logo. And then you guys can see with the mirrors how that's blacked out, and then Defender here on the side is also blacked out. And this is just in like the normal ride height setting, if you guys are wondering. So this is probably what you're going to be cruising around it in terms of what it'll look like. And yeah, definitely a cool looking vehicle. So here is our key fob for the Defender. Notice we have our unlock lock function. We've got that to turn the lights, and then this is just to open up the rear in terms of unlocking it, because just like the Mercedes G-Wagon, the glass is connected to the door and it opens up, well, to the side instead of like every other crossover on sale today. It says Defender right here, and I love the utilitarian design. And well, we've got the window sticker back here, so I guess that we'll take a peek at this instead of later in the video. I guess we're mixing things up today. So this is the original window sticker again, 2023 110 Carpathian edition. Now with the Carpathian edition, pretty much everything is standard equipment. There are some options, we'll go over those in a moment. Notice the warranty, 4-year, 50,000 mile new vehicle warranty, and then also that's basically covers the powertrain as well. Look at the fuel economy, 14 around town, 19 on the highway. And then you guys can see there with the base MSRP. Now notice that we have like the front undershield, for example, added to this, and then those 22-inch wheels. And after all options, this originally stickered for $122,140, but that is not even close to market value on these V8 Defenders. I have seen so many of these for sale for like over $200,000 in today's market, because this basically competes with the Mercedes G63 G-Wagon, which is also selling for that much. And so people are like, oh, well, since the G-Wagon's selling for that much, the V8 Defender has to sell for that much too. Go figure. Anyways, we've got a little 12 volts right here. I love all the goodies that this comes with, and look how like neatly organized this all is here in the back. That's pretty cool. Now this is for the air suspension to raise and lower it in the rear, so it makes accessing the rear a little bit easier, and that's one of the benefits of having air suspension, frankly. And then notice here with our power outlet, and I love how everything's covered, but notice the material on the back of the seats. That makes it so that you don't have to worry about getting, you know, like cloth or leather or dirty on a seat back if you fold it down, which is pretty dang cool. And well, now let's finish things up with the rest of the rear. I'm a huge fan of the coloration on the taillights here for the V8 Defender. I think it looks really good when they are off. Obviously they're red when they're on. Another Defender logo, because we got to let everyone know that you got the new Defender. Parking sensors. Notice that we have recovery hooks here on the back end, even though they will probably never be used because, well, the V8 Defender is a mall crawler at the end of the day. Notice with the exhaust tips, super aggressive. I love how they look. Obviously, those do get in the way with departure angle, but again, even though the new Defender is an off-roader, people don't really take these off-road, so that's not really that important. And then, look at the spare. Just as nice as the other wheels. And again, this just has such a cool utilitarian look. This is definitely the coolest SUV on the market in terms of unibody SUVs, because like, this is what you think of when you think of unibody SUV, not like big, bulky, boxy design like what this has. So I think that Land Rover did a really good job. Now this is kind of funny. They even wrapped this little part right here that's painted. That's pretty cool. Anyways, this has the upgraded leather interior. That's what comes with the Carpathian edition. So really nice leather all around, but you still have the exposed rivets, so it has that cool utilitarian design. And then here are these seats. Now this has the full leather seats. You can also get this with like Alcantara inserts. I would recommend getting a leather like what this one has. I reviewed one with the Alcantara inserts. They look really cool, but this feels like a little bit softer, and I think it's gonna wear better over time because leather just wears really well. And then stepping in, it's really easy to get in. There's a grab handle if you do need that. There's the legroom. There's the headroom. And you guys can see with the little storage pocket there. We've got our vents here in the back, and then we do have our climate controls as well. You got some USBs on top of that. Then we have our cup holder armrest, and of course, just like other Defenders, this does have the little skylights there at the top. And yeah, overall, love the back seat area. Let's head to the front. Now the front door panel is the same as the rear, so you guys can see the leather trim here at the top and then down below with all the exposed rivets. Blind spot monitoring here for the mirrors, and then here's a quick look at all of the window controls, and then you guys can see with the mirrors you can power fold them in. You got your memory seat function here, blind spot monitoring on the door so that it gives you a warning before you open up the door, which is a nice safety feature. More speakers for the Meridian sound system, pretty cool. And then here are the front seats, full leather just like the back seats, perforated all down the center, and then you've got your power adjustments here on the side. V8 logo. Notice the pedals, and you guys can see there for the hood latch release. Parking brake, and then more leather trim, and notice with the stitching goes throughout. And let's pop in. So here is the steering wheel for the Defender. We've got Alcantara wrapped around the whole steering wheel, which looks really cool and feels nice as well, frankly. Leather wrapped airbag cover with the Defender logo there in the center, and then we have this little button we can press, and that'll change stuff in the infotainment screen, or not the infotainment screen, the center gauge cluster rather. We'll go over that in a little bit. This does have adaptive cruise control. We do have paddle shifters here on the back of the steering wheel for the 8-speed automatic. We have our turn signal light stock, windshield wiper stock, and well, nice steering wheel. Now here is the center gauge cluster. Like I said, if I press that little button on the left side of the steering wheel, it lets me scroll through different bits of info here on the Defender. Pretty standard stuff, just like other Defenders. Now this has the full digital gauge cluster. Something that I found pretty interesting about the new Defenders is you can pretty much option in or out so many things with the Defender. So like, you can have the full digital gauge cluster standard on a package, but then you can change that and have the analog gauge cluster if you want. Not a lot of automakers do that, but Land Rover does that, which is kind of interesting. So you could see a V8 Defender with the analog gauge cluster. Interesting. Now here's the center infotainment system. First off, if I pop it into reverse, we do have a backup camera with two direction lines that turn with the steering wheel. We have an on-road mode. We have an off-road mode that'll show us if the center or rear locker is locked. Then we have a towing mode. And I do want to talk about the lockers. So that's the thing about the V8 Defender is it comes standard with all the off-road goodies. So we already talked about the air suspension that gives it 11.5 inches of ground clearance, but it also has the lockers. And sadly, the air suspension will actually probably be used. Not sadly, that'll probably be used, but sadly these will probably never be used. I mean, maybe like snow driving, because they're automatic and they'll pop on, so I guess that's the thing. Anyways, something else cool about the camera is it gives you like this see-through view on the vehicle. So I can see under the Defender, which is pretty cool. And then you can change the camera angle here on it because there's like a bajillion camera views. So from a camera system perspective, pretty dang solid. As for the rest of the infotainment system, we have a shortcut bar here on the side. Notice I went to the home screen and you can scroll across. We have our slope assist, which again, probably will never be used. Notice it shows us the elevation that we are at, which is pretty cool. Wade sensing as well. And wheel info is pretty cool, so it'll show you what's happening with the different shocks, like as you're going over bumps and everything. So again, there's a ton of cool off-road tech built into the Defender. And look at that, we got Apple CarPlay as well. That's definitely fun. And other than that, it's an infotainment system. So we have the shifter for the V8 Defender. Notice the leather trim on that, and pretty easy to use. So you just click a button on the front and then move it forward for like reverse, for example. Same thing for drive, and then just over for the manual mode, and then just press P for park. And then we have a lot of controls here. So we have our radio volume control right there, hill descent control. This is for the air suspension to raise or lower it manually. Stability control, that is your low range, because this does have a low range transfer case. And then you press this button and that'll let you change the fan speed. And then you press this in and that'll let you change the heated or cooled seat function. That's pretty cool. Anyways, if we move from that, we can press this, and this will let us change the drive modes. There's a bunch of drive modes with the V8 Defender, so it's standard in comfort. There's a grass gravel, then there's a mud ruts, there's a sand, rock crawl, wade, and then there's a configurable, which you can basically just change eco, and then dynamic. And then if I just go back into the comfort and then just press that, then boom, goes back away. You just have to press the button again. And other than that, that's kind of like that little area. Got some USB ports right here, and then you guys can see the leather trim that's on these like manly grab handles. And then look at the storage space underneath. And you got this that covers up the cup holders, which is kind of interesting. Wireless phone charger. And then this does have the center console that doubles as a refrigerator, which is always a good time. And actually, this has been on for a minute, so yeah, it's kind of cool. Get it? Because it's a refrigerator. Anyways, more leather trim here. And then you can see goes all the way across the dash, and it's like a grab handle, but then it's also a very nice looking grab handle. There's another USB port. Defender logo. Pretty normal glove box setup. And then we of course have the camera mirror, which you guys know I'm a huge fan of. It's a nice bit of safety tech. This does have a panoramic sunroof. So between the skylights and the sunroof, this has a pretty open feeling interior. So despite the fact that this has this very black on black interior, it doesn't feel like claustrophobic or anything like that. And also the sunroof is one touch, so you just press it down for a second and then it'll just go back in. But anyways, that is pretty much going to sum things up for our little walk around here on this V8 Defender. I want you guys to let me know what you think about the Carpathian edition, or if you'd rather just get a regular V8 Defender so that you could change the color. Because that's the thing about the Carpathian edition is it basically only comes like this. You can't get it in any other color, any other... Well, you can change some options, but that's about it. But let's get an exhaust clip, and there you go. That's going to sum things up for our video on this V8 Defender. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Southtown Imports for giving me some time with this Defender. Check out the Tron in the description down below. I'll see ya.